Hi, my name is Britton Brown and I'm one of the team leaders here at Keller Williams Realty. We are so excited to have an opportunity to talk to you about the rollout of our KW Stimulus Plan. You know, there's been a lot of talk lately about where this market's going, whether this is a time to buy or maybe just a time to sit on the sidelines.
Now, before I let you in on the Keller Williams Stimulus Program, I thought it would be best to first give you some insight as to where we've been, where we are today, and where we're heading. I believe we're looking at what I'm calling the perfect storm. There are many factors developing very quickly that can have a tremendous effect on the current real estate environment, causing what appears to be a solid rebound in pricing for medium home prices nationwide, especially right here in Kansas City. The first thing I want to point out is the fact that if you look at the median home prices in the U.S. dating back to 1982 and going all the way to 2010, you will find some very interesting statistics. The first thing I want to point out is the fact that interest rates in 1982 were around 18% and today are under 5%. As the interest rates began to ease starting in 1983, the housing market began to take off. The median prices for homes in the U.S. shot up $40,000 over the next 10 years before easing up. Now, a quick note. Over the lifetime of tracking home prices, we've always heard that economists say, at least up to 1998, that homes, due to many factors, would always appreciate at a 4.5% annual rate. Of course, that was before things began to really take off. Then, as if everyone lost their minds, they determined that the rules had changed, and we could count on 8.5% appreciation or even better. And as the old saying goes, that's when the wheels came off the truck. Now, around 1982 through 1995, we saw home prices stabilize and things realign themselves after the big push higher, while the mortgage industry began to reinvent themselves. And that was about the time that the refi boom began. Now, after we stagnated for a few years, the refi boom hits, and along with lower rates and the fact that lending restraints had relaxed to the point that almost anyone could get a loan, we saw the market take off on a new run to much higher prices. Over the next 10 to 12 years, the median home prices skyrocketed, and we saw a run in price escalation of over $50,000 in that time period. Homes in the U.S. in most places were appreciating due to low interest rates and loose lending restrictions of over 12%. It was this price volatility that certainly overdid prices, and when you have an increase in prices that quickly, well, something has to give, right? Now here's the fascinating part. If you take the pricing history over the last 28 years, median home prices have retraced to a level that is right in line with a 4.5% appreciation level. This pullback in pricing is a very healthy thing for the housing market. It's also a good sign that we have probably found the bottom. Here's the proof. At this point, we began to stabilize in pricing, and over the entire 28 years we just covered, we still, even though we pulled back considerably, we still have not broken the support level that is established for this bullish trend we've experienced over this time. And even more in our favor is the fact that prices have not only firmed up, but are up anywhere from 2% to 4.5% over the last 2 months. Now, this is obviously very exciting for all of us. Now, do you remember how I said earlier that we have the perfect storm brewing? So here's what's going on that you need to be aware of. Number one, banks are not going to be offering free loans for homes. We are at 50-year lows in interest rates, and the banking industry is chomping at the bit to take the rates right back up. Number two, there is legislation getting ready to hit the market that will prevent the seller from helping the buyer pay for closing costs. This is a very big issue for everyone. Buyers already have to come up with a minimum of 3.5% down to purchase, so it's very common for the buyer to ask for closing costs as part of the terms of buying a home. If this shrinks or even goes away, the cost to purchase out of pocket for the buyer will be a lot more than what they have to come up with today. Number three, There is also legislation out there right now that is in the works to push closing costs a lot higher. A buyer may end up having to pay an additional 3% of the loan amount that would be used specifically to create a money pool to help pay for bad loans. And number 4, I believe there is a supply issue on the horizon. We just currently lack a demand problem. But make no mistake, the banks currently own a very large pool of the entire inventory out in the marketplace, and they play to win. The retail market is slim pickings out there, so unless you want to risk purchasing a home that is an as-is property with the potential of a costly unseen problem, you are running out of options. So to simply recap, we have interest rates at 50-year lows. In the very near future, buyers will have to pay a lot more money to close on a house, and at the same time they'll get less help from the sellers in the form of a seller contribution. And lastly, we have a very high potential of a supply-demand problem that could cause this market to go much higher and very, very quickly. Now, Keller Williams has been known as a market maker for over 25 years now and has constantly been in front of each shift in the real estate market. There is no wonder why we are one of the most recognized real estate companies in the country, attracting the very finest agents and outperforming the market year over year. That is why Keller Williams has once again taken the initiative to help jumpstart the real estate market. So let's quickly give you a brief overview of the new Keller Williams stimulus plan, which is designed to help encourage home sales and get the market back on the right track. Sellers who choose to participate in the program have agreed to help pay for a reduction in a qualified buyer's interest rate. The lower rate will result in a lower monthly payment and can result in an even greater savings of thousands of dollars over the life of the loan. For instance, a buyer using a 30-year fixed loan borrowing $150,000 at 4.75% interest would have a monthly payment of $782.47 before taxes and insurance. However, when a seller who is participating in the Keller Williams stimulus plan contributes to a permanent interest rate buy-down that pushes the rate 0.5% lower down to 4.25%, the borrower now has a $737.91 monthly payment before taxes and insurance. Now that is a monthly savings of $44.56 with an annual savings of over $500 and a lifetime savings of over $16,000. This is a much greater savings than the tax credit back in April that ultimately ended up back in the bank's hands anyway, right? Did I just let the cat out of the bag? That's right. If you actually qualified for the tax credit back then, yes, you would have received up to $8,000 from the IRS. But since the bank saw that coming a mile away, they took the initiative to increase the interest rates by 0.5%. Now, on a $150,000 loan, that meant that the $8,000 would have simply been a loan to the borrower because the bank ultimately gets back that and a lot more. You see, rates went from 5% to 5.5%, and on $150,000 the borrower would pay over $16,500 back to the bank. So net, the buyer came out on the short end of the stick. They ended up paying the bank over $8,500, and that was after the $8,000 they got back went back to the bank. But now that rates are as low as they are, now is the time to jump in. You will be saving almost $33,000 when compared to April's market scenario. That is precisely why Keller Williams has once again taken, as they say, the bull by the horns. Our intention is to create a win-win scenario for both the buyers and the sellers. And the reason why this works out so well is that the special financing opportunity, together with the lowest rates in over 50 years, makes this the greatest time to buy a home. You know, I've been telling all my friends that this is the greatest opportunity my generation will ever see in real estate. This is your opportunity to potentially create tremendous wealth for you and your family. Now, if you're interested in buying but have been sitting on the sideline, well, you just need to lose that idea that price is king. The simple fact is that interest rate is king. It's simply okay that you missed the low prices we saw back in the early part of the year. Why? Because even though you may be paying more for a home today, your monthly payment is actually less than it would have been due to the lower interest rates. And along with the KW stimulus plan, you are going to save a whole lot more money. The Keller Williams stimulus program provides a much greater incentive for the buyer today than the tax credit did back in April. So in the end, your patience is paid off. You know, there's an old saying, pigs get fat and hogs get slaughtered. Don't lose out being a hog. You need to call your local Keller Williams realtor today to learn more about the program and let one of our realtor professionals help you make the right decision for you and your family.